Now Karen has worked in the rail industry for many years and is here to talk about something that had a big impact on her. So Karen is going to talk to you about the railway children and how this led to her personal change in 2018. Please welcome Karen O'Neill.
How many people here have heard of the railway children? Yeah? What do you know about it? Shout out. A book? Great. What else?
So it's a charity for children who are disadvantaged somewhat, usually based on maybe they might not have parental guidance at the time, but a bit lost in the world.
Great, that's brilliant. Saved me explaining that then. So brilliant! The Railway Children is a charity, and it particularly was formed to set out to address street children, vulnerable children, and it's associated with the railways simply because the railways have a unique opportunity, because when children run away, often they arrive vulnerable on a train, or they arrive in a big city, vulnerable, at risk, and alone at a station. So, do you know that every 5 minutes, one child in the UK runs away from home? Every 5 minutes. Just hold that thought for a second in your mind, and we'll come back to that. The Railway Children's influenced my life. It's challenged me. I work in the rail industry. There's an industry-wide initiative to actually address problems. I said we have a unique opportunity because of how the railway is located to spot vulnerability. The staff, we're all trained to notice things like that. And I want to just tell you a little story that provides an example of this. So, it's set in Manchester. There are two young girls, and they're on the train from their local town into Manchester city centre, into Piccadilly station. They're in the back of the carriage, sitting, chit-chatting, giggling away to themselves, and everybody in the carriage is ignoring them. Well, young girls over there being a bit noisy. The lady who's sitting behind them sort of becomes aware that they're talking about going into town. They're talking about meeting up with a guy they met on Facebook. Oh, he's a bit older than them. Are your warning bells coming out? Yeah, they haven't met him. They don't know what he looks like. And they're thinking, oh, I wonder what he does for a living. He says he's got a reasonable job. We think he's 17. So our warning bells are ringing. This lady's was. She spoke to the ticket inspector. The ticket inspector phoned the control centre at Manchester Piccadilly. The BT police and a railway children's support worker met them at the end, and they spoke to them. And you know what? They avoided something there because the guy was recognised by British Transport Police and he was in his 40s. How lucky were they that day, and how fortunate were they that all the people in the industry had that knowledge and that support worker was there. This is one of the great things about the Railway Children. It sets off to fight for people at 3 levels. At street level, so this is where they're making a direct intervention. They're getting to those vulnerable children before abusers do, potentially before the streets influence them with other problems. It might be drugs, it might be just desperation. The second way that they reach out is through community. So on that basis, they're explaining to communities what communities need to do to help. They're explaining to communities how to interpret maybe legislation, and they're actually teaching communities that this is part of the problem. It's not something over there, it's here. And the final level is government level, national level. they research, they produce white papers, and they lobby government to get vulnerable children higher up on the political agenda. This has influenced me, and I want to do something about it. So in 2018, I've taken a challenge. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the Railway Children Free Peaks Challenge. So what does that involve? 48 hours of sheer physical hell. Why else? I'm walking up Snowdon, I'm walking up Scaffold Pike, and then I'm walking up Ben Nevis. I start on Friday morning and I have to be finished Saturday lunchtime. Sorry, no, Saturday evening, 48 hours. And it's frightening. I'm doing that because I'm raising money for what I think is a worthwhile cause. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my life and why this is important, why I take this challenge. I commute every day, often to London. Sit there with all the busy people rushing on the tube, rushing on the train, heads down, don't meet anybody's eyes, rush past, rush past. Nobody looks up, nobody looks at their surroundings, nobody even makes eye contact half the time. Certainly, nobody sees the boy in the corner with his carrier bags sitting in the side of the train carriage. Nobody sees the young girl standing in the station, right at the back like this, hugging herself, trying to make herself feel warm, trying to be brave, even though she's crying inside because of desperation, violence, conflict. So I'm doing this. I want to leave you all with a thought. I'm taking this challenge because I want to do something, not just for me, but to help all these people. I want you to be the people who look up. I want you to see your surroundings, meet people's eyes. I want you to see that young boy, that young girl. And most of all, you know, if you can do this for yourself and for other people at the same time, that's amazing. And just coming back to that 5 minutes, that's 2 children now. How shocking is that?
I think I'm applauding everybody.